Monday, July 29th, 2024. And over the weekend, the orange toddler told a group of Christians, evangelicals, that they need to vote. But just this one time, because after this, in 4 more years, they won't need to vote again. It'll be fixed. They'll never need to vote again. And I don't know why this isn't like bold print, red font, highlighted, um, biggest news story of the weekend, because I mean we're watching the elections in Venezuela go on, which have clearly been rigged, and I mean that's what he's talking about. It's like there is no, Amy Alyssa Farrell Griffin is like, well, there's some people that think it's this and some people that think it's that. Either way, it's the same fucking thing. It's authoritarianism. It's you don't have to vote because I've rigged it so that everything that you get everything that you want, which isn't what the country wants. Um, but it also it it does bode to his nod to and connection to Project 2025, but it just says right out loud, you'll never have to vote again. I want to be able to vote again. I don't need you to take that away from me. Um, and uh, I love it that he says you never have to, like it's a chore. Um, but I'm flabbergasted that it's being treated so lightly, because it really is. It's that's ringing a bell to fascism. It couldn't be clearer. There aren't any other ways to describe it other than I'm going to fix it so no one has to be elected ever again. Um, which should, and I get it. I know the Harris campaign is trying to get away from the fear mongering aspect of it, and and ride a positive wave on um, issues. I get it, but this one seems like an easy one to say. Hey, um, the guy wants to stay in power for the rest, and he just told you that. Um, Instead, she called them weird, which, I mean, when it comes to JD Vance, it's like okay, and a lot of things that Trump says are just weird. The whole, um, battery powered boat electrocution versus shark talk and all that stuff. It's weird. Um, but the Republicans don't like being called weird, which I think is funny. And I think it's because that's what they used to use to sort of insinuate gay. If they saw, a boy that wasn't really interested in sports or was a little effeminate, they would say, "Oh, he's a little weird, isn't he?" Um, and I don't know that it was a conscious decision, but queer, is a sort of another synonym for weird, and I think it was a way for them to sort of say that without sounding like bigots. They're just using another word for queer, which is weird, in a different sense. So I feel like that's where their sort of touchiness comes about being called weird, and um, but so they don't want to be called weird because they think that's bad. They may be associating it with gay, which they clearly think is bad. But they're happy and proudly uh, taking on the moniker of deplorable, which I feel like that sort of just tells its own story. Like, yay, we're awful. But we don't do that. Um, we want to ruin democracy, and we want all of our guns, and we don't care who dies, and nobody gets to eat. But we ain't queer. Idiots. Um, so that's bizarre. And I do have to say, and I've been saying this all weekend, we've got a great momentum going on the since Kamala was endorsed and now has the delegate count, a week ago, and she'll announce her VP pick in the next week or so, and I'm a little concerned because people are already sort of putting their money behind certain horses, and I think we need to sort of stay out of it. When she makes the pick is her pick, and if it's not your first choice or even your second choice or even your third choice, but you're still going to vote for the ticket anyway and support the ticket, then I think we need to shut the fuck up about what might be wrong with that candidate or why we don't like that candidate or why someone else would be better and just say, hey, that's the VP pick. Let's fucking go. We don't need to give the GOP talking points. We don't need to give them an opportunity to be like, you don't even like the VP pick anyway. First decision she made, and you disagree with it. Why are you voting for her? So I think we just need to keep our mouths shut and be like, okay, that's who it is. I'm starting to think it's gonna be Pete. But whatever. Uh, we've got less than 100 days to get this ticket over the finish line, so we don't need any distractions or infighting or any of that bullshit or taking away any of the momentum. So let's just rally around whoever it is as her first decision as candidate, and keep going. She did make another decision this morning, which was endorsing Joe Biden's uh, request to Congress to create legislation for Supreme Court term limits and a board of ethics for them, as well as preventing presidents from having any kind of immunity while in office um, for anything illegal that they do, which is great. And like that's the only Supreme Court reform we've had in decades, a century. What is the last time we increased the size of the court? So hopefully we'll get. I don't know where that's going to go because the House is still controlled by the fucking Republicans. But that's fascinating. And this whole stupid thing about the Olympics, um, where the drag queens uh, sort of did a recreation of a bacchanal, and these idiot Christians who don't think of anything other than their own religion are like, that's a terrible blasphemy of the Last Supper. I've seen a lot of recreations of the Last Supper, um, with with rock stars and in portraits um, and with actors, and like it's been done a bazillion times. And if drag queens were trying to do that, it would have looked like the Last Supper. That didn't look anything like the Last Supper, other than there was a bunch of people around a table. Um, and like I didn't. I was like, that doesn't like. Why are they infer? Why do they assume this is the Last Supper? That's not what it looked like at all. And because there was way too many people there. But anyway, what a just giant self own that is, because it's like you don't even know your own history. Um, and it's the Olympics. If they were really showing the true history of the Olympics, there would be drawings of men fucking each other, because that's what the first Olympics. That's what that literally. Those are the sort of original drawings and on pottery and clay and Jesus Christ, morons. They're just fucking morons. Um, but anyway, uh, more to come this week. Um, and I think we should be pushing the hey, Trump said you'll never get to vote again. I just don't see where there's a downside in that one. But what do I know?